mynews.studio.
Ireland's last coal plant has gone dark. The big question now is, what happens to the communities and jobs connected to it?
That's quite a headline. Today is June 24th, 2025, and Ireland has officially shut down its final coal power plant, Moneypoint, in County Clare. That's a 915 megawatt facility that's been running since the mid-1980s. Why does this matter so much for Ireland, and actually, for Europe as a whole?
Moneypoint wasn't just another plant. It was built after the oil crises of the 1970s, so energy security was a big driver. For nearly 4 decades, it was central to Ireland's electricity supply. Closing it puts Ireland among the 15 European countries now running their grids entirely coal-free. The symbolism is big, but so is the reality. For the first time in modern history, Ireland's grid is operating without coal.
But how did they actually do it? Coal was such a backbone for so long. What filled that gap?
The main answer is renewables, especially wind. Back in the early 2000s, wind provided only about 1% of Ireland's electricity. By last year, that figure was up to 37%. That's around 11.4 terawatt-hours just from wind. Solar is still small, but it's growing and breaking records. So these renewables gave Ireland the confidence to shut down coal without risking blackouts.
That's a big change in a short time. But there's always the human factor. What's happened to the workers at Moneypoint and the local community?
That's been a real focus. The transition wasn't just about closing the doors. Years ago, Ireland started repurposing Moneypoint. In 2017, they built a 17-megawatt onshore wind farm right on site. Then, in 2022, they installed a synchronous condenser to help stabilize the grid, something coal plants used to do. And now, there are plans to make Moneypoint a hub for floating offshore wind. The proposed Moneypoint floating offshore wind farm at 1.4 gigawatts could really change job prospects and the local economy.
So people aren't just losing jobs. They're being offered new roles in renewable energy.
Right. The jobs are shifting from running coal operations to building and maintaining renewables. It's not a perfect trade. Some roles are different or need new skills, but there's a serious effort to keep people working and keep the community stable.
Ireland's closing coal, but is the grid ready for all this renewable energy? Wind and solar are variable. What about challenges with the grid and storage?
Grid flexibility is the big issue. Renewables don't give steady, always-on power. Ireland invested in synchronous condensers, which help keep the grid stable when you lose a constant source like coal. EirGrid, the operator, is expanding the grid, adding a battery storage, and trying out demand response. That's when you shift energy use to match supply. But there's still a backup. Moneypoint can burn heavy fuel oil in emergencies until at least 2029.
That backup hints at a bigger issue. Ireland's adding at least 2 gigawatts of new gas-fired power. Does that risk just swapping coal for another fossil fuel?
That's a real debate. The government calls gas a bridge, a temporary step toward a zero-carbon grid. Critics worry that if you build new gas plants without a clear timeline to retire them, you could lock in emissions for years. The key is making these gas plants short-term with a clear plan to shut them down as renewables and storage improve.
So Ireland's coal phase-out is part of a bigger trend in Europe. How quickly are other countries moving?
15 European countries are now coal-free. Another 10 have pledged to phase out coal within 5 years. Italy and Spain are next. They're set to close their last mainland coal plants this summer. Things are speeding up. Coal is fading out fast across Europe.
Why should anyone outside Ireland care? Is this just a local story, or is there a bigger lesson?
It's really a blueprint. Ireland proves that even countries with a long fossil fuel history can make the switch. The lesson is as much about managing the transition for people as it is about the technology. Any country still using coal can learn from how Ireland balanced energy security, jobs, and climate action.
Let's do a quick listener Q&A. How did Ireland handle the worker transition? By investing in new renewables at Moneypoint and retraining staff. What's replacing coal? Mainly wind, with grid upgrades and storage. And the main lesson? Plan for people as much as power and invest early in grid flexibility.
Ireland's story started with closing a coal plant, but it's really about jobs, new technology, and a vision for a carbon-free future.
Thanks for listening. Ireland's transition is proof that old energy systems can change and that the world is watching.
Thank you for joining us. This episode was powered by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.